Ja, Hare Krishna. Super. Ihr habt es geschafft. Huh? I prefer, because my German is a little rusty. Okay, yes. Okay, good. So let me try and sing a little bit. Jaya Radha Madhava Kanja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kanja Gopi Janavallabha Kivadadade Gopi Janavallabha Yashodanandana Vajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kanja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kanja Bihare Gopi Janavallabha Kivadadade Gopi Janavallabha Kivadadade Yashodanandana Vajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jayaramarava Kandaviyare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gauriva Ariva Ariva Nitai Gauriva Nitai Gaura Premanande Srila Prabhupada ki Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki. Lass den Tisch hier. Gaura Prem. Lass den, leave the table here. And but the harmonium you can take. Gaura Premanande. Hare Krishna. Ein Kampf den Tisch. Krishna, Krishna. Okay. Welcome to our Sunday morning lecture, and thank you very much for allowing me to share a few thoughts and realizations. Om Agyantimandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gove Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapanam Yena Uttale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Nadati Swavanatikam Namam Vishnupadaka Shabasa Uttali Shimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayane Nivishesha Shunyavari Pasatara Shatarane Vanshakapa Tuvasha Kripa Sinuvevata Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pavanityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Go Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we want to break the usual class routine a little bit. Yes, this is often what we do when we have somebody visiting who has some very systematic, practical topics, developed. So we usually adjust things a little bit. So I would like to actually bring attention to you today to this topic of the Vanaprastha Ashram. Yeah, because this year in Mayapur we had the ISKCON Leadership Sangha, the ILS. This is quite a big event every 2 years. About 600 to 1,000 leaders from all around the world come, and they churn all different topics. And they requested me to give this presentation there on the Vanaprastha Ashram. So I thought maybe there's some little interest here also, because here in Zurich you actually have a lot of senior devotees, and elderly devotees. And the topic of Vanaprastha is not relevant only for people around 50. In fact, we can say for many then it's already a little late to even, meditate and plan and cultivate this whole mood of Vanaprastha life. It actually is relevant for everyone in ISKCON. We all need this general education that after family life, there is another ashram. And the Vanaprastha ashram, I like to call it the forgotten ashram. Nobody even talks about it. Nobody even plans for it. There's no clear understanding what it is all about. Many people think, no, this is not for me. I don't want to become a Vanaprastha. You know? And interestingly, there's very clear statements throughout the whole Bhagavatam where Prabhupada emphasizes again and again, it's a must, you know. But often these statements are spread out over 12 cantos, and then often we miss them. And what I'm trying to do, I've published a book on this topic too. It's my latest book, just in case you haven't seen it yet. The Vanaprastha Ashram, Meeting Death with Joy. There's a whole part on death in it too. So, you know, I'm trying to make Prabhupada's teachings more accessible to people, because Prabhupada's books are the law books for humanity. And sometimes the law books are pretty complex, and we don't so easily understand how to actually live according to the law books. So, and that challenge we are facing in ISKCON, you know, that reading Prabhupada's books is of course super, super important, but it's only the first step. And then the real challenge is, how do we live it? Are we actually applying it? Because only then Prabhupada's teachings are actually transforming us, if we live it. But that part is not yet really developed. And it's not a surprise because, you know, ISKCON is a pretty young movement, only 50-something years. So it will take a few generations how to get there. And this is exactly what I'm trying to concentrate on. My humble preaching efforts are targeting, you know, to bring Prabhupada's teachings more, making them more accessible to people, how to practically live them. And that's why I've put all different courses together, which I'm giving in Mayapur, and now the courses I make are all available in book form. So this Vanaprastha topic is a 15-hour course, which I give in Mayapur usually in January. And yeah, it's just such an important topic which we have to become more conscious of. And I'm making this joke because Prabhupada emphasizes often the timeline of 50. At the age of 50, plus minus, you know, we should enter the Vanaprastha ashram. So I'm saying ISKCON is 50 now. So it's time to understand the importance of Vanaprastha ashram. You know, because the other ashrams are more or less established. There's books, seminars, and. But Vanaprastha ashram, nobody even talks about it, you know. There's no book. I'm not saying this out of false ego, but this is the first book on the Vanaprastha ashram. It's just not there yet, you know. And there may be some reasons why this is not understood. So one reason, of course, is at Prabhupada's times, there was no question of Vanaprastha, you know, because he had to establish the Grihastha ashram, the Sannyas ashram, the Brahmacharya ashram. Vanaprastha is retiring, the retirement from family life, you know, and the time was not right yet, but it's all in his books, you know, it's all there. So that's, of course, one reason. And then I dare say there's another reason, because often our family life is not so much of an ashram. Yeah, I have a whole book on that too, Family Life as an Ashram, Secrets of Success. So basically meaning that most of our devotees, they enter married life without any clear training and education. What it actually means that we have family life in Krishna consciousness. It's a whole different story than the family life we know. We have to adjust our habits and lifestyle and focus and priorities and. It's a whole big topic. So ashram means a place suitable for cultivating bhakti. That's an ashram. It's not a building or rooms or something, but it's a certain mindset where really the cultivation of bhakti is the first priority, right? And yeah, if our family life is not so much of an ashram, then we don't get that necessary purification. That's the whole point. And we don't come to the point of detachment and renunciation. And then it may be a very threatening thought to leave the cozy home, because we're so attached. And that's why sometimes, and I'm not criticizing anybody here, I'm just trying to observe and make the diagnose, because I'm coming from medical background. So that's why sometimes devotees, when they're 69, they get a third time married. It shows that this purification has not set in. That seed of the desire for sense gratification has not been burned out. There is a nice analogy in the Bhagavatam that when the farmer plows the field, he turns the soil upside down, and so the seeds of the weeds come to the surface, but if they have not been thoroughly burned out, they sprout again. And that's what we experience, And the seed of the desire for sense gratification is not burned out by artificially suppressing the desires. That will not lead to the point of burning them out. Then they're spawned again when we are 69, But no, we have to learn to fulfill these desires in the frame of serious Krishna consciousness. Yeah, that's the secret. Serious Krishna consciousness. And that burns out the desires for material enjoyment. Then we get a higher taste. Even though we fulfill these desires within our family life, but through that serious Krishna conscious practice, the seeds become burned out. And then, if we start our family life reasonably early, as Prabhupada recommends it, then when we are 50, 55, the kids are established in life, either married or they have a job or they're just about to finish their studies. And then for the parents, they very naturally move on to the next phase in life, very naturally if that seed is burned out. Actually, once when I was giving this course in Mayapur, one participant was saying, actually, in ISKCON, we are not even on the level of Grihamedi life. Because Grihamedis, they follow all the rules, the purifying duties, giving in charity, receiving guests, feeding all the living entities. They all do that, but for the purpose of a pious, happy life in this material world, not for the purpose of bhakti, but they're following it, and they're not getting divorced. So he was making this point. Our divorce rate is so high, so we haven't even reached the level of Grihamedi life. Wow, yeah, I would never even have dared to present such a point, but it came from the audience. And it really hit me. I thought, yeah, he's actually right. Yeah, so and because of all that, naturally that maturity and spiritual maturity and purification has not really set in every, grihasta's heart to move on to the next phase in life, And then there's fear also, because ignorance, if we don't even know what this is all about, then we have so many misconceptions, so many fears, and this and that, and no, that's not for me, Yeah, so it's a big topic. I once remember in Mayapur, I arranged a whole big Panda program on different topics, and one topic was the Vanaprastha Ashrama, and I invited all different Maharajas and Vanaprasthas and to speak, and I was like the MC. I was coordinating the whole thing and telling everybody what to please talk about. And I had printed out these nice colorful leaflets to invite people for the program. And I met one Prabhupada disciple who knows me well, and he was there with a friend who was also a Prabhupada disciple, and his wife, she is not a Prabhupada disciple. And we bumped into each other, and this Prabhupada disciple, who I know, I don't want to mention any names, he introduced me to his friend and said, this is Devaki Mataji, she gives all kinds of interesting seminars and has written books and so on. And I was there with a bunch of leaflets in my hand. I thought, okay, let me invite him to this big Panda program there. There's usually 400 or 500 people coming. And I gave him a leaflet for the Vanaprastha. And what happened? His wife snatched this leaflet out of her husband, and she was angry. And she said, don't you give him any crazy ideas. And she was serious. And this Prabhupada disciple who introduced me to his friend, we were all okay. We were at a loss how to, smooth over this one. And I just said to her, it's just a program. It's interesting to hear about this. And no, don't you give him any crazy ideas. So that's how little awareness is there on this topic of Vanaprastha. People have all kinds of misconceptions, thinking that the husband puts on saffron and walks out the door, never to be seen again, and all these kind of things. But now it's a team thing between husband and wife. They don't have to separate. They can work as a team. Prabhupada says it all in the Bhagavatam. And also another point is just to emphasize how important this education, even for young devotees, is. Because then they plan their life properly, Because Krishna's system of the ashrams are so natural phases in life, And it's perfect to bring us to the point of renunciation and remembering Krishna alone at the moment of death. That's the test. At death we are tested. Which relationship is most important? Which personality is most dear and prominent in our life? Is it Krishna, or is it my husband, wife, daughter, granddaughter, cat, dog, whatever? And to remember Krishna alone at the moment of death, that requires serious preparation. Serious preparation. That's why we need this Vanaprastha, where we, disentangle ourselves from family affairs and this deep bond, and otherwise, if there's anybody else in our life who is more important than Krishna, we have to come back and finish this more important business. For sure. That's what Prabhupada says, So, if we have that general education and knowledge, then a young man understands, okay, around 30 years of age, depending, of course, when we join and when we come in contact with Krishna consciousness, there's some little room for adjustment there. But around 30 years of age, ideally, we should be clear. Can I be brahmachari really for the next 50 years? Or will it be helpful and purifying, and will I develop my personality more if I actually go through this purifying journey of family life? And because if he marries around 30, plus minus a couple of years, so then when he's 50, 55, the kids are grown up, established, and then we can move on, But because that understanding is not even there, I'm traveling all around the world these days, so I often see this, that the men stay in saffron until they're 49, and then they realize, somehow something is missing here in my life, and my mind is looking at the ladies, and there's some desires there, and so maybe I should get married, but 49 is just, if we want to, take advantage of the Vanaprastha ashram, then it's just a bit late, 49, so 59, 69, then we will be till 72 or something, engaged in financing the education of the kids and all this, But Prabhupada stresses Vanaprastha 50 before we become incapacitated physically, before we become invalid, before we're, or shaking there or whatever happens in old age, so 75 is too late, then the idea of leaving the cozy home is almost impossible, So this is just a few introductory thoughts. So I have chosen from the Bhagavatam a verse 2, second canto, first chapter, verse 16. So I will just chant once through the Sanskrit. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krihat Pravajito Dira Punya Tirtha Jalaptuta Sucho Vivikta Ashino Vidivate Kalpita Shane. Translation. One should leave home and practice self-control. In a sacred place, he should bathe regularly and sit down in a lonely place, duly sanctified. So the purport is quite long, and there's, of course, a lot of powerful things in it, but since we don't have so much time, 8:45, you usually finish, right? Yes, it's only half an hour. So I will read a condensed version of this purport, which I put on the back of the book. And they are the most important, powerful statements there, which I think is suitable for this little presentation. So, to prepare oneself for the next better life, one must get out of one's so-called home. The system of Varnashram Dharma or Sanatana Dharma prescribes retirement from family encumbrances as early as possible after one has passed 50 years of age. One is recommended to quit home just to get rid of material attachment, because one who sticks to family life until death cannot get rid of material attachment. And as long as one is materially attached, one cannot understand spiritual freedom. Wow, this is pretty clear, pretty powerful. When you read this, you may think, how could we miss it for 50 years? You know, yeah, it's all there in Prabhupada's law books, you know, but who is applying it? Hardly anybody. Yeah, because there's no education on it, you know. Yeah, so one has to quit the so-called home, because really at the moment of death, or gradually as we get purified, we should consider the spiritual world the real home. So the spiritual world is the real home. That's why Prabhupada says the so-called home. There's actually, in the chapter Idea of Family Life, 7th canto, 12th chapter, there is even for Grihastha ashram is recommended that a Grihastha should consider himself as a visitor to this material world. And when you're just visiting, you're not going to make all these arrangements as if you're staying here forever, right? You know, in a couple of weeks I move on, so therefore just whatever is necessary to keep body and soul together, you know? Yeah, even a grihastha should have that attitude of just visiting, you know, and keeping things simple, simple living. That's what Prabhupada gave us, you know. Yes, yes, but yet, you know, even in family life, we don't cultivate that mood. We really think we're going to stay here forever, you know, accumulating so many things, and you know. Yes, so there are a few, and I mean, yes, Prabhupada says, you know, one who sticks to family life until death, you know, cannot understand spiritual freedom. It's materially attached, you know, because these family attachments so deep, so strong, especially parent and child, especially mother and child, very strong bond, which does not mean that we should not go through family life. You know, very easily we come to this misunderstanding, thinking, okay, having children, so much entanglement, no children. I get married, but no children. Misunderstanding. Because complete detachment is based on previous attachment. And I'm giving the example, you know, if a person is poor, has no money in the pocket, very easy to say, oh, I'm detached, because he doesn't even have the opportunity to enjoy life, you know. But complete detachment, if the person had money in the pocket and still makes that decision, no sense gratification, I want to give my life to Krishna, that is complete detachment. And very often we see this when devotees from poor countries, Ukraine, Bangladesh, and they come to the West, they come to America, they're completely overwhelmed with the desire for enjoyment. And then they sometimes completely lose Krishna consciousness, because now they have the opportunity to enjoy, which they didn't have before, you know. And then we see that seemingly detached mood in their poor country was not complete detachment, you know. And even sometimes we also see it when brahmacharis after many years get married, then they get all overwhelmed by sense gratification, you know, and you wonder what happened. He was in the ashram for 15 years, he was so strict, you know, but yeah, ashram life, you don't have that opportunity to enjoy. You don't have to voluntarily set your priorities, you know, that you learn in Grihastha life. And sometimes people completely drift off, you know. Yes. So that makes that point that true detachment, complete detachment, should be based on attachment previously, and then developing a higher taste, and then the seeds of enjoyment are burnt out, you know. And there is another strong statement in connection with Yudhishthira Maharaj, where Prabhupada says, no gentleman remains in family life until the moment of death. No gentleman. It's spiritual suicide. Yes, yes. Heavy, heavy. How can we miss it for 50 years? Yes, yes. Yes. So there is, of course, also this misconception that people think Vanaprastha life means to live in the forest. So here, Switzerland, forest, pretty cold. It all is not relevant for us today. No need. That's a very common misunderstanding. But no, we extricate the underlying principles of forest life and we apply them wherever we live. It may be in New York, in Berlin, in Sydney, Zurich. We can live these principles anywhere. That's the whole idea. Yeah, so we have to understand Prabhupada's law books properly. Otherwise, why would he say all these things if he wouldn't expect us to eventually live according to it? And again, I'm saying it takes a few generations, but I think we have to start somewhere, and I think it's exciting to be a tiny little part of it, to try and give that education. So Vanaprastha has a few general principles, like definitely no more sex life. Yes. He emphasizes that again and again. Vanaprastha, no more sex life. Yes. So, and then also a few others, that the worldly duties reduce, we gradually wind up our business activities. Like we retire, like non-devotees, they meditate on their retirement for 30 years, right? Of course, their meditation is pretty different. How to enjoy one more time on luxury cruises around the, Caribbean islands or whatever, So they have that meditation, and they save up, and they plan and meditate like anything. So in we devotees, we are also meant to plan and meditate like anything, on our retired phase of life, But yeah, there's no meditation and planning usually there, So yeah, worldly duties naturally, reduce. The kids are out of the house, So we wind down our business and our professional engagements. Because what for? What for? The kids are gone, and the expenses are smaller, and then also all that is meant for the increasing of the absorption in spiritual life. Diving again one more time into Shravanam Kirtanam. It's almost like going back to brahmacharini consciousness. So naturally, that's also, by the way, a reason why it is not properly established, because not everybody has that good fortune to go through brahmacharya ashram, And then, if we have that brahmacharya or brahmacharini training, very natural to move on. Finally I can get back into it, do all these things in Krishna consciousness, which I couldn't do when I had little kids, I spent 4 years in the ladies' ashram in Sydney. That made it for me very natural. When my husband left, Krishna consciousness left me. I was only 40 at the time. It was very natural for me to move on. Okay, good. Back to the old days. It was very natural. There was some little lamentation, but only for 2 weeks or something, and then I moved on. Yes. And still, I would not be where I am now if I hadn't gone through this 10 years of married life. So anyway, we're switching also from external achievements towards internal achievements. this is a bit of a challenge, because external achievements, they are more satisfying to the false ego. But as the body gets older, it's not so suitable anymore to run around and lift pots and and we have to make this switch and deepen our internal life. If we don't do this voluntarily, some health crisis will force us. And then it can be very difficult, because we haven't built up this taste and internal activities. And then we may fall into a hole, into a vacuum. We get all depressed, Yes, we get all depressed. And we feel, now I'm not needed anymore. And So better to do this before the health crisis forces us. Yeah, very important part. And we should delegate to the young generation, pass on our duties and posts and titles and so on, It's not that a Vanaprastha can't have titles or posts, but at least those we have done for 20, 30 years, we should hand them over, empower the young generation. Also in our communities, we can see that if the young generation is empowered to take over, that attracts the youth. That brings in a youthful spirit. But if people stay in their posts until they're 70 or something, it leads to stagnation. For that person individually, for the next generation who doesn't get a chance, and sometimes they start a revolution, because they feel frustrated. Yeah, and for the whole community, it brings stagnation in. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. All the very best for your journey. You going by car? Train. More cozy and comfortable. Yeah, so the handing over is a big thing. In former times, there was even a ritual where the father would hand over the keys to the treasury, to the son. Because even in family life, if the father built up a business, he's afraid, my son is a kid, he will ruin everything, I have to do it, it will not go on without me, and so there's this fear there. But no, of course the culture is also that the son takes a little guidance from the father, but he's also meant to move things forward and brings maybe some new mood and energy into the whole thing, But that's why there is a ritual where he hands over the keys. So, my dear son, you run the show now, Yes. So, but then these are general, aspects, and the aspect of leaving one's cozy home. Because, if we've been in family life for 25, 30 years or whatever, and we have a nice home, either a house or a good flat, there's so much attachment there, and it gives us a sense of security, my home. And to actually get out of the cozy home, it's a bit of a jump into cold water, yes. But we do this gradually, so we leave for 2 weeks, come back. We leave for 1 month, come back. We live for 2 or 3 months, come back. Either with the wife or with the husband, or separately, she goes here, he goes there, or whatever. There's so many different versions, Main thing is husband and wife still work as a team, The mind still knows, I've got a husband there, I've got a wife, okay, he or she is there, and this and that, and we are in touch and so on. But that protection is still there, remotely, yes. And they come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go, until they realize, hey, what's the use of this big house here, let's get rid of it, we are hardly even here. It becomes a burden to pay for things, apart from the fact that we don't have the health to climb up on the roof and fix the dach and the pipe there and all these kind of things and cut the grass and all that, you know. Now it all becomes troublesome burden, you know. Yes. Yeah, so getting out of the cozy home is a pretty important part of Vanaprastha. You know, it's not enough that we say, okay, we retire from our work and we don't have sex drive. Not enough. We have to get out, you know. And it doesn't mean that every Vanaprastha has to be a preacher. Some people are not, you know, it's not their nature to preach and present things. So we all have so much life experience to share, you know. So even if we are not a preacher, we simply visit a temple for a month, we can do some puja there or do some service in the kitchen, or we go on Harinam and book distribution with the young fellows or whatever, you know, yes. And we give guidance and, you know, or we may have some professional experience and expertise. We may have run a company, we are expert in marketing. That's really what we need in ISKCON. You know, we have the best goods to offer to the world, but my God, our marketing strategies are lousy, non-existing. You know, yes, it's really like that. Strategic planning. Every company has strategic planning. Another thing which is completely lacking in our community is most of the time no strategic plan. We're just busy in solving conflicts and disasters, you know, but strategic planning, no time for it, you know. Yeah, so that's the situation, you know. We are still a fair bit behind the professional world. They are much more expert in organizing, managing, and leading things, you know, so we can learn from them a little bit, actually, you know. Yes, so, yeah, not everybody has to be a preacher, you know. We have so many abilities and experiences to share and use in Krishna consciousness, and we can just imagine if this Vanaprastha life would be established, we would have so many well-experienced and mature devotees as full-time devotees in our movement. My God, we are missing out completely. There's all this unused potential out there, you know? Yeah. That's the sad situation. So much unused potential, and we would do so much better if this education of the Vanaprastha ashram would be there, you know. I want to very quickly just give 3 very practical other principles how we can start today, those who are married and who are not here maybe, or maybe hear it online. There's 3 practical principles how we invite forest life into our situation of life. So the first principle is simplifying our surroundings. Forest life will be simple living conditions. Right? Extremely simple. So we simplify our surroundings, meaning we get rid of things which we have accumulated for so many years. You know, if people have kids, big house, the bigger the house, the more junk is accumulated, you know. So we go through the cupboards, get rid of things, throw away, sell, pass on to the young generation who starts with family life, you know, all kinds of stuff, you know, kami books, all different knickknacks and porcelain, cats and dogs, and whatever people all accumulate, crystal glasses and, you know, yes, so much stuff. And once we clean out the cupboards, gradually, not fanatically putting it all on the garbage dump there, but we go through the cupboards And okay, no, this thing I still want to keep. Okay, keep it. And then next time around, after 6 or 12 months, then maybe we are ready to get rid of it, you know. So it's a step-by-step thing, which we ideally should do under guidance of somebody who's got already a little bit more experience. Otherwise, we may just do things a bit, you know, suddenly and phonetically, and then, we regret it, and so on, you know. Yeah, so, and then as our cupboards, you know, become more and more empty, we realize, we don't even need all these cupboards, you know, so we also get rid of a bit of furniture, you know, and we imagine, like Prabhupada in many purports, he says, Vanaprastha ashram moved to the Holy Dham, Vrindavan, so, or Mayapur. So unless we, you know, establish another whole fancy, cozy, flashy home there, which Prabhupada also in one purport he warns of that. But usually if we book ourselves in Vrindavan and, you know, during holy, you know, times there, Kartik or whatever, you know, our rooms are pretty simple. There's a bed, there's a table, chair, you know, and some bathing place, maybe some little cooking corner, you know, and that's it, finished, you know. No flashy interior decorating with the matching curtains and all this nice big pillows, and, you know, no need. Make it simple. Yeah, that's the first principle of forest life. And if we actually do this, we realize how liberating it is, because all these things we are attached to, they occupy some space in our mind. And if we, you know, let go of this, it frees the mind that Krishna can be there more, you know. I mean, I have practical experience. I live out of a suitcase for the last 25 years. So I have one suitcase with me. Now, since pandemic, I have 2 suitcases parked in Cologne Temple in the cellar. Before pandemic, it was only 1. But in pandemic, I had to be in the European winter, so okay, I had to buy some winter clothes and all that. So and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should better keep that, because before pandemic, I was always in India during the winter, you know. So yeah, that's my life. 2 suitcases parked in Cologne Temple, and 1 suitcase I'm traveling and I'm repacking when I move over to India, and you know. And I'm trying to get back to 1 suitcase parked in Cologne, because 2 suitcases are already too much, you know. Yeah, so, and it's great. It's a good way to be, you know, yeah. So that's first principle. Then the second principle is simplifying. Where are we? Simplifying not only our surroundings, but simplifying our external appearance. So there's strong statements in the Bhagavatam, one should wear tree bark. So, yes, they used to make thread from tree bark. It's not that people were hanging tree bark on their bodies. Yeah, see, we have to know all these things. No, but like you can make thread from jute. You know, jute is also a plant. So when you wear jute, you don't hang the leaves of the jute plant on your body. But no, they were spinning thread of that plant. So the same thing with tree bark. You can actually make thread out of it and weave some cloth. And that's what they were wearing. You find it even on the internet, you know, if you Google it. But not now, please. See, I caught you. Yes, so living in the forest means, you know, no flashy clothes and this and that. And we just keep things to a bare minimum to keep body and soul together. And this is especially important for the ladies, because we women in married life, we are meant to bring color and beauty into the world. And we are a little more on the bodily platform, so that we want to make ourselves pretty and beautiful and decorated and all that. So that's the duty in married life, because that inspires a man to be responsible and dutiful and protect his beautiful wife and. But then, Vanaprastha ashram, we are meant to let go of this. Yes. And again, it's a gradual process. We wear more and more subdued colors, not the loud and bright ones calling for attention, pink, purple, light blue. Or this Vanaprastha is not really, meant to be like that. But we gradually go in more subdued colors until we wear white with a border. Here, actually, your sari, that's the Vanaprastha sari. Unknowingly, you got the right one on. Yes, and you wouldn't believe what a challenge this is to most women. I'm trying to encourage them, even if the husband died of, natural way, he left his body, still the women are not going into more subdued colors. Now I need some color in my life, it's not me, Well, I also like color in my life, but I enjoy it on other people and on nature. There's so many beautiful colors. I don't have to wear it, Yes, we all need some color, but you just look at the altar, my God. Can anything be more colorful than this? So it's wonderful. So we satisfy our desire for color like that. And not having to wear it ourselves or something. I mean, you imagine walking around like that, Yes. So, simple. And also short hair. Widows, I'm a widow. My husband spiritually is dead and gone. He is not around anymore. But he's alive. But that's considered a widow. So widows wear completely white and shave their head. That's our culture. In Bengal, you see all these widows with shaved head. They even have a shika. But for me, no need. So, but Vanaprasthas have just a short haircut. Oh, so nice. You boys all know how nice it is. You don't have to worry about shampoo and this and that, It's very liberating, Gets you off the bodily platform. So men by nature, they're not so much into colors and decorations and all that, but often they have other ways, some extended externals like the gold chains and the flashy watches and the name brand aftershaves and whatnot, or the gadgets, has to be the latest gadget all the time, so we can include that in simplifying our externals, because in the forest you're not going to have the latest gadget and the Gucci computer bag or whatever, but it's all going to be simple. So, and then the third principle of forest life is simplifying our eating. Again, there's so many descriptions in the Bhagavatam how we are meant to live off leaves and roots and berries and fruits and stuff, So whatever comes in a simple way along our path, Again, it's very much according to the phase in life anyway. Once you're over 50, fire of digestion is going down a bit. You have to adjust your diet and cut a few things out of your diet, pakoras, halava, or these things, difficult to digest. And if we don't do it voluntarily, we will be forced by a health crisis, definitely, Or if we don't do it voluntarily, we expand in this direction. And there are strong words in the Bhagavatam. Strong. Where Prabhupada quotes Bhaktisiddhanta. and says that he was heavily chastising his fat disciples. And when you become overweight, it means you have not made any spiritual advancement. Heavy, yeah, because it means our main source of satisfaction is still eating, and we haven't gotten a higher taste yet, It means no real progress, actually, Yeah, and we see this a lot because, again, the whole digestion metabolism changes in old age. We don't burn up so much energy, passionately running, jumping around, and so, then we become fat, Yeah, that should not be. And it burdens the body so much, my goodness. If we are 15 kilos overweight, it's like walking around with a backpack of 15 kilos all day. For the joints, the knees, so that's why people often need second knee joint there, unless they have some other conditions, but often I see it, or hips. It all gets so burdened, the heart, the lungs, everything, the back problems, and you feel heavy and sleepy and lazy, and digestion takes so much energy. We burden the body immensely, yes. So from all points of view, it's good to be light and more thin, yes. Yeah. So these are like the main three things which can be cultivated even when the kids are still at home studying, just as preparation. Okay, let me, clean out the cupboards a bit, get rid of things, let me gradually move into a different color scheme there for the ladies, or for the men, let's get rid of a few fancy gadgets and things there, and simplifying our eating, becoming more health conscious, more raw foods and juices and this and that, and not all this heavy, prashadam that burdens the body and we put on weight. And we invite a bit more tapasya. Okay, Ekadashi, let's fast, at least half a day. Like in Bangladesh, it's the standard. Everybody, or not everybody, but definitely all the brahmacharis, they fast half a day on Ekadashi. There's no proper breakfast on Ekadashis in the temples. Everybody fasts, at least half a day. So, and then some fast the full day, and some have some little simple prasadam, or as a Vanaprastha, so we can fast at least half a day, then we can break the fast with the juice. We have a bit of soup or fruits in the afternoon, no proper breakfast, no proper lunch. Just to invite a little bit more austerity, a little bit more tapasya. That's the spirit. All right, my time is already overdue, it's up. So just for some little food for thought, if anybody wants to know a bit more about this here, there's so much more in it. And, well, do we have time for maybe one comment or question or something, if there is anything? Just one, if there's anything, if you're not all speechless now.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I like it very much also because I'm disabled. I like it very much this principle that you spoke that one has to go gradually.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we are thinking 50 years is not practical. Nowadays, in our society, everyone become married late. No one become married before 30 now. And then the children, they go out from home late now. Especially if you have a son, can stay till 30. So he's 30 plus 30 make already 60. Then another question is the pension. We are not supposed to go till 65.
Yes.
This means you have to work till 65.
yes, yes,
But
yes,
the concept you were speaking,
yes,
try to go in.
yes,
Then maybe when you come 60, 65, you are ready
yes,
to go out.
yes. I mean, the whole financial thing I am discussing in detail in the book. Actually, the culture is that the grihastas are meant to maintain the Vanaprasthas. They maintain the brahmacharis, the Vanaprasthas, the sannyasis. So, but because we are not there yet, and the Vanaprasthas also have to come up and deliver the goods which they're meant to contribute, you know. So it's a gradual thing, you know. But the idea is that at this moment, devotees have to do a little bit of financial planning. They have to maybe arrange some passive income, renting out a flat they paid off or whatever, you know, or selling the house and, you know, investing that and then just traveling in the mobile home. I met a few people like that, you know, they reduced their living space to mobile home. Perfect. I can travel all around Europe, preach, distribute books, do puja here and there, whatever you want to do, you know. And then actually the temples, the grihastas, they should give donations. Actually, that's really the system, you know. So that is the old age security, you know, the dependence on the mercy of the devotees, and Krishna acts through the devotees, so we depend more and more on Krishna. And this may all sound very theoretical and impractical, but if we actually really minimize our needs, we don't need much to keep body and soul together. We don't. I mean, I'm living like this for, you know, I don't have a passive income there or whatever, you know, so I don't have any bills to pay, you know, and just 3 white saris is enough, and, you know, it is. So it's all a question of reducing our expenses, our demands, what we feel we need. Prabhupada calls it the unnecessary necessities. Prabhupada's word combination is often very interesting. Yeah, so we have to get rid of these unnecessary necessities. And then life is very simple. And yeah, I mean, in all communities, there is a desperate need for people who come and do some service. So surely they should respond by giving a donation, you know? And if they have a room in the temple and they eat temple prasadam, if it's healthy, and, you know, then there's actually not much expenses. What do you really need? You know? Yes. Yeah, even there one has to see, you know, maybe one can cover this from the expenses, you know, the whatever little income we may have. Maybe also the children can help out a little bit, because for so many years the parents were maintaining the kids, so maybe now it's their turn to pay the health insurance or something. 300 euros a month or whatever it costs. You know, so it all requires a bit of financial planning at this point, because we're just not there yet, that the grihastas understand that they are meant to maintain the Vanaprasthas. You know, I mean, I don't have old age pension and all that. I gave up my career already before I met the devotees. You know, so it's possible to live like that. It's possible, you know? Yeah, it is. So, yeah, but that's what I mean. That's why also the young folks who enter the Grihastha ashram, they have to know it's their duty to maintain the Vanaprasthas, you know, that understanding has to be there, you know. But then the Vanaprasthas also have to do their part and really offer. And we have a few kind of, you know, Vanaprasthas like Vaisheshika Prabhu and his wife, They travel, they preach. He was selling paintings for many years during his married life. They're not working until they're 65 and get a pension or something. They come up with some other way while they're even in family life, and and they do things like that. Yes. And then if he is a charismatic preacher, so not everybody's in that category. But even if we perform service, that should be valued enough that we give a donation to the person, Yes. All right. Thank you so much for your kind attention. And actually Tuesday, Wednesday, we have some more morning classes, which are a little topic related, And then Wednesday, around lunchtime or something, I will move on to the next place. Okay, thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samavita Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaura Premanandi, Srila Prabhupada ki.